Hey folks, Colton Woods here. I want to talk to you guys real briefly about the importance of your horse being able to be influenced. If we jump down the track in their education a little bit and we say that the horse is under saddle and we're riding them, a horse that is willingly guided, whether it's dressage or reining or whatever it may be, they're influenceable because when we apply pressure with the rein aid or we have a request with the rein aid, a leg, maybe a dressage whip or a spur, the use of our seat, the horse responds in a way that if they understand it, then they do what we're asking, or they have a process mentally that they can stay relaxed, problem solve, work through it, and try to find the answer. And that means that they have try and that they're willing to search for the answer. And so we want them, of course, to stay relaxed during this, but they have to have a mindset where they're influenceable by us. And so if we track back a little bit and say right now it's the end of February, we have a lot of colt starts in, and particularly I've got a 2.5-year-old warm blood that we've been working with, and we've got just a handful of rides on him, but he's had all the quote-unquote groundwork you need to be able to have, apparently, to ride this horse, and he's pretty quiet about a lot of other things like tarps and flags and whatever. So we want to, of course, on our end to make sure that that's the case, and also want to make sure that this horse is influenceable, because when you go to put the first ride on a horse, you're going to ask that horse to move off. You know, we may not worry about steering or anything like that. We'll make sure we have a soft lateral flexion in case things get a little out of hand and we can get the horse stopped or keep the horse out of trouble. But we are going to ask the horse to move out. And so the horse has to actually have a mindset where they're willing to move forward, to move away from that pressure. And this is something that's been a hot topic around the barn. I think that a lot of the horses that we do get in struggle with this in different areas of their education, and they show it in different ways. It's not always a kicking out at the leg, let's say, or a horse that bucks or a horse that rears, but there's a lot of different ways this can show up. But it's a horse's willingness to be influenced by us. And the reason this is so important is because it's part of every part of their life. And so when we look at colt starting for a young horse, even from the ages of a foal, we have to start teaching them that when we influence them, or I can change that word to direct them, that they willingly yield to that. Because essentially a horse's life with us is made up of yielding. And what do they get when they yield? They get peace and quiet. And that's really what they want. They want us to leave them alone. So pressure and release. Some folks use positive reinforcement. You know, it's all a means of applying a certain type of pressure and then taking that away and giving the horse something that they cherish. And so, which is oftentimes peace and comfort. But the horse has to be influenceable. We have to be able to direct that horse. And it starts from when they're wee little babies, or it starts when we first get our hands on them, when we start with them. But we found a lot of times with a lot of colt starts, we get a lot of warm bloods, and we get a lot of different types of horses, but a lot of times these horses are overhandled, and they're very personable horses, but they haven't actually been taught how to be directed or how to yield or how to deal with any type of pressure that is directly associated to them. And so by that I mean they have to learn how to separate it. And so they're good with all kinds of stuff going on around them when they know it has nothing to do with them, but when things start to have to do with them, they don't understand how to cope within those moments, and then how to yield, how to problem solve and get out of situations and all that stuff. And that's so important before we ever put the first ride on, to have it to some degree, so that when we go to put our leg on, the horse, if it's been spoiled, let's say, when you go to put the leg on, it doesn't get cranky and just go, no, I don't want to, and kick out or buck or rear or do whatever it wants, but it actually has a thought process upstairs to where when it feels pressure, it has a way of moving out. And of course, you're not going to teach that initially just by getting on them and saying, okay, well now we're going to try to fix this mindset. We're going to do groundwork to help that horse understand, hey, I'm just going to turn you loose in the round pen, and I'm just going to dictate which way you go. You can run around 1,000 miles an hour, or you can walk. And then later on, I'm going to dictate the way you go, and then I'm going to try to get you to change to the middle of the round pen, which means that if you try to turn away from me and your butt comes towards me and your head goes toward the fence, you might find a little bit of pressure. And then eventually we can dictate the way they go, we can get them to change to the middle, and then we can control the speed that they go. And all of this is giving a horse a way to, it's the very basic principle, the very first thing I particularly do in the round pen, that gives them a way to find pressure and release. They learn how to problem solve and make decisions, and we actually get control of their feet, because then we get to start to influence and direct the way they travel. And so all of this is so important, and it needs to be started from such an early age. And I stress this because we start a lot of colts every year, and we get a lot of colts that come from folks that think that all you need to do is get on them, when the fact of the matter is that groundwork, everyone has the best of intentions, and I don't mean this in any way to take it personally, but the groundwork hasn't truly been groundwork, or it hasn't been done good enough to get us to where we need to be. And we've already done a video on spoiled horses, which you guys should check out, because the definition of spoiled horses is to harm the character of that particular being, and it has a child or whatever. You can watch that video. It goes into the difference here is that we find a lot of spoiled horses that aren't influenceable or be able to be directed, but the whole spoiled horse is a whole nother conversation, which you can check that video out. But we actually have to get control of the horse's feet, and that can go as far as the horse needs to learn how to speak horse again. And because a lot of times these high-end horses they get put by themselves, they get individual turnouts so they don't get hurt, and they lose the language of horses a little bit. And here we are trying to take horsemanship and train a horse in a way that built upon the way the horse thinks. And sometimes the humans intervene so much that they've lost a little bit of that. And for us personally, we start reintroducing them to a herd, let them get reconvened with a herd. They start to understand how the herd works. And actually, when we have horses that have lost that so much, the herd exiles them, because they run in and they throw their hands up and they're like, I'm here, and they're way too bargy. They're the same way with us as people. They're that way in the herd, and the horses are like, we don't play that way. And because that horse isn't influenceable, they can't direct that horse, so they say, we're going to direct you right on out the door, and you can go hang out by yourself until you have a better thought process. And when you want to come in and be respectful, and you want to be a little more tactful and relaxed about things, then you can be part of our group. And so for us on the training side of things, that's so important. They have to have the herd dynamic, and then it makes the training life so much easier. So we have to work that together. But ultimately, without making this video too long, it's so important that our horses are able to be directed and influenceable in a way that they stay relaxed, they understand. It's not personal, it's just the way it is. They have to follow, they need a leader. It's what's best for the relationship anyway. It's going to keep them safer in a domesticated environment. It's going to be better on the down the road when you start trying to get into undersaddle, riding over, doing over fences, doing dressage with piaffe passage, lead changes, tempi changes, doing the reiners and having a sliding stop and a spin. All those maneuvers require a horse to be influenceable, and for them to be able to do that, they have to have a mindset where they're going, what's in this for me is peace and comfort. I enjoy my job. This person thinks fairly. They're cool, they're calm, they're collected. And so it all has to work together, but your horses have to be influenceable. If they're not, if they throw temper tantrums, if they stomp their feet and they rear up, they don't yield their hindquarters over and all that stuff, that's a lot of stuff that has to be worked through before you can go on. Because without the horse's mind, because it's all upstairs, right? All the influence is up here, then it shows in the feet. Then the rest of the stuff becomes possible. So we hope you guys found this helpful. I know it went on a little longer, but my name's Colton, with Colton's Horsemanship. We're so happy to be able to connect with you guys, help you guys with your horsemanship. If you have questions, always feel free. Send us a message on YouTube, Facebook, email us, send us a message that way, send us a video message, whatever works for you. We're more than happy to answer your questions, help you guys out. So I hope you guys have happy trails, stay safe, best of luck with your horses. Y'all take care, guys.